where I got up to, but my counter wasn't recording. I don't really know what to do because I don't know whether any of that will have recorded properly or not. But if it doesn't, it doesn't. It's fine. It's just we've just lost a recording. What I should do now is finish the episode for all the wonderful people who've joined, and then we can worry about whether it's going to download or not. And we're just never going to use Firefox ever again, because what the flipping hell happened there? So I will just go back a tiny little bit just to let everybody jump in. Hopefully anybody who wants to jump in will know to jump across. And I'll just summarize again. We'll start there. And so, sorry, some of you, it will be a bit repetitive because you only heard it 5 seconds ago. And some of you, it gives you time to jump in. I don't know what happened there, but according to my Substack live clock, it stopped. But you could still hear me. So that's good. At least, So we were doing the cautionary conclusion, the rule of law. And I apologized because it's not what we want it to be. So we started off by saying the Attorney General of the United States is constitutionally and in practice the head of the federal government's law enforcement. The position exists, or is supposed to exist, to enforce the law impartially. We've already seen where that does not appear to be the case. The idea is to prosecute crimes regardless of who commits them. Crimes, not vendettas. The position is supposed to represent the United States, not the president. And as I said, in the words of every AG confirmation hearing ever held, the AG is supposed to be the people's lawyer. And then we have our 4 candidates. 1, Trump's personal former criminal defense attorney, currently withholding millions of pages of documents in a case where his own conduct may be at issue, who attacked his department's former prosecutors on social media using his government platform. The oath is to the Constitution. Exactly, Gordon. Another one of our runners and riders has publicly vowed to drive a dagger into the heart of scientific consensus, whose public statements have already been used against the government in court, and who has no meaningful prosecutorial experience at federal level. Then, hey, Daniel, you've got our disability rights crusader, and you are very welcome. And we're kind of just tying up where we got to when things went weird with my computer, so we started again. Hey, Daniel, lovely to have you here. One of our candidates has dismantled the Civil Rights Division's ability to protect minority communities, cancelled police oversight agreements reached after the deaths of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, dropped a lawsuit protecting migrant children from abuse. And I can't stress that highly enough, that that's what this woman has done. And she called her critics hoes on social media on a Sunday. Because, any other day of the week, that would be fine, but not on a Sunday. Have some respect, woman. And finally, we have the one that was called a reckless maniac by her own former colleagues. She launched a criminal investigation into the Federal Reserve chair that was blocked by a federal judge, who she then went on to defame, and is currently named as a defendant herself in a defamation case involving her amplification of the false claims about the 2020 election. These, ladies and gentlemen, are your 4 candidates for the top law enforcement job in your country. Are you excited? Are you very, very excited? Can you can hardly choose between them, can you? I know, it's delicious in a kind of terrifying sort of a way. Every single one of these people has already publicly demonstrated their willingness to subordinate the law to political loyalty. Just what Donald Jessica wants. Every single one of them has already shown him what they will do when asked. They will just jump asking, "Is this high enough?" Every single one of them is in various different ways already compromised. And that is the point. That has always been the point. Yes, all come here. You can all come here. I'll set up the spare room. I'll put the kettle on. I'll inflate the airbed, and you can all crash here. East London, you'll find it. But the rule of law does not collapse all at once. The Gong Show, yes, exactly, exactly. I don't oh God, can you imagine the four of them performing? That's what we need. We need a four-way public debate like they do for the elections. It would be an absolute car crash, and I would be here for that. So, sorry. It doesn't happen in one single dramatic moment where everyone can point and say, "Ah, there, that's where the rule of law ended." It happens in the slow grinding erosion of norms, in the replacement of independent lawyers, career prosecutors, with ones loyal to the leader. It happens in the transformation of a law enforcement institution into a political instrument, in the selection of candidates not for their ability to uphold the law, but for their demonstrated willingness to bend it. UFC ring, that's another option. And I believe a very lovely UFC ring is being set up as we speak. It's all going to be perfect. Stick the four of them in, and if anyone comes out alive, well, we'll deal with that when we come to it. The United States Department of Justice, sorry to say, currently has at its head a man who was the personal criminal defense lawyer for the man he now works for. That is where we are. That's not normal. And we need to keep calling it out as being not normal. We are not going to join in the mass operation to sane wash the absolute nonsense that is going on in this administration. In any healthy democracy, this alone would be a constitutional crisis without all the other stuff. I'm not telling you to despair. I'm just telling you to pay attention because the receipts matter. The record matters. Us speaking out matters. Us saying loudly and repeatedly, "We see you." What these people have done and said and admitted and celebrated, that's evidence. And evidence, unlike political loyalty, does not have an expiry date. As I said, we do not say it if we cannot show it. And tonight, Mamacitas, I do believe we have been showing it. And as I said, for a few quid, you can get all the receipts and the references and everything, blah, blah, blah. But you don't have to because, you know, it's fun just being here, right? Yeah, you come here for the party, not all the stuff. So that's what we've got. That's the field, 4 people and a very patient man, although you've got to wonder at the moment. Justice does matter, Daniel, and we are going to fight for it. And that patient or not patient man has a very specific plan. So I would like to say thank you so, so much to every single one of you who pops into the cafe, those of you who read the Substack articles, who comment, who help me do what I love to do, and that is call out hypocrisy and injustice whenever I see it. And I'm really sorry. Unfortunately, that seems to be an awful lot of the time over your side of the pond. But don't worry, I'm keeping my eyes open. I've got a cracking little episode for you on slavery. Was it really abolished? That's coming up next Monday. So if you're interested, please come back and join me. I really do appreciate you all more than I could ever tell you. It's just wonderful to have this opportunity and to have fantastic, wise, insightful, engaged, democracy loving, justice fighting warriors like the rest of you here to listen to what I've got to say. You know, mostly I do it to educate myself, but I love it if you feel at all enlightened in any way. Thank you, Gordon. So, if you aren't subscribed, please do. The free subscription, it's there for all of you. As I said, if you enjoyed tonight's show, please recommend us to a friend. If you hated it, please recommend us to an enemy. Daniel, I would love to do a story together. Admin, get on it. We need Daniel. Daniel, let's get together. We'll do the Daniel. Yes, Amy is the admin. Yes. No, I'm sure she'd be open. Mate, I'm climbing through the computer to get to you. And that's a little unseemly, but sorry, I'm just keen. Anyway, so yes. Yeah, recommend to an enemy if you didn't enjoy it, because then we all win, right? Do the likes, do the shares, do the subscribes. That's more important than any pounds you can find or dollars you can find down the back of the sofa. I really mean that, because without you being here, I'd look a bit silly. I mean, I'd still do it, don't get me wrong, but my kids would really start to worry about me, and they're already a little bit worried. So for anyone who isn't into prayer and it's not their cup of tea, you are very welcome. Thank you for being here, and please go with love and in safety, and we'll see you here next time. We'll be back on Thursday for the Mamas meeting with maybe Laura, maybe Summer. We keep you guessing till the last minute. And we're nearly done, folks. Yes, so anyone who needs to run off to Glen, go. Anyone who wants to say for the closing prayer, please do. And Daniel, I will DM you, because I think that's what the youngsters say. So those of us who are staying to have the final moment, please just take a minute. Take a deep breath in and out. Connect with whatever guides you in your life, whatever spiritual being, higher power, God, whatever you feel gives you some sort of direction in this world of craziness. Night, Daniel. And I'll begin. Tonight, we will be reading a poem by Rudyard Kipling. As you know, we've done If. This one is called Justice, and it's from October 1918, and I do believe it will finish us off nicely. Across a world where all men grieve, and grieving strive the more, the great days range like tides and leave our dead on every shore. Heavy the load we undergo, and in our own hands prepare. If we have parley with the foe, the loads our sons must bear. Before we lose the word that bids new worlds to birth, needs must we loosen first the sword of justice upon earth. Or else all else is in vain, since life on earth began, and the spent word sinks back again, hopeless of God and man. A people and their king, through ancient sin grown strong, because they feared no reckoning, would set no bound to wrong. But now their hour is past, and we who bore it find evil incarnate, hell at last to answer to mankind. For agony and spoil of nations beat to dust, for poisoned air and tortured soil and cold commanded lust, and every secret woe the shuddering waters saw, wilt thou repay? I will, repay. And apologies to anyone who has any difficulty with Kipling. Amy has posted in the notes that he was famously anti-Semitic, and we don't condone that. We don't support it. And unfortunately, sometimes people of questionable behaviors and beliefs do produce wonderful work, and I appreciate his poetry. I do not appreciate anybody being anti-Semitic. So apologies if that's offended or hurt or upset anybody. Oh yeah, we can definitely do Maya Angelou. And when I've got a little bit more time, I would like to do, oh my God, her name's escaped me, the lovely, lovely lady who did the poem for Joe Biden's inauguration. Definitely, she's on my list. I thought the words were really powerful and apt. And absolutely, thank you, Amy. Separate the work from the man. And that's not always easy. And if you are Jewish and if you have suffered any kind of persecution, any kind of anti-Semitic behavior, then I can't imagine how difficult that might be. And I do not judge you if that's too difficult a task to separate the two. So I will bear that in mind. And thank you for pointing it out, Amy. You know, I hope you all know, we very much appreciate you educating us back. And by we, I mean me, because I don't know everything. I'm still learning. Every day is a school day. But for tonight, I have been Mama. I hope you enjoyed our deep dive into the runners and riders for the Department of Justice. Thursday, we'll be back for the Mamas meeting. Next Monday, we'll be having a deep dive into slavery. Was it really abolished? So come back for that next Monday. All right, my lovelies, and hopefully we've had some update on the terrible shooting in San Diego, and our thoughts and prayers are with all of the families affected, and even the families of the two young men who are believed to have been responsible. All right, my lovelies. Look forward to seeing you next time, but I am afraid for tonight, ladies and gentlemen, the cafe is once again closed. Good night, all.